Why won't you listen to me? This is important. Stop praying. Look at me when I'm talking. Answer me.
Ever had a neighbor who just didn't get it? Margaret's garden, complete with a beloved Virgin Mary statue, was a neighborhood treasure until Henry moved in next door. What happened next had the whole block talking. In the peaceful suburb of Maplewood, Margaret cherished her garden sanctuary, anchored by a beloved Virgin Mary statue. But when her new neighbor Henry, a keen real estate developer, saw it as an eyesore, an unexpected journey of faith and community began to unfold. Before we continue, tell us in the comments. Where are you watching from, and what time is it right now where you are? It's always inspiring to see how stories of simple faith and devotion reach hearts across the world, at every hour. If stories of humble miracles and the Virgin Mary's gentle presence move you, subscribe so you don't miss what unfolds next. In Maplewood, a neighborhood where the morning sun cast a golden glow over every home, Margaret, a retired schoolteacher and a woman of deep faith, found solace in her garden. Amidst the vibrant blooms of daisies and roses stood a modest statue of the Virgin Mary, a treasured gift from her late husband. For over 2 decades, this humble figure had been a beacon of peace, a place where Margaret whispered prayers for her scattered family and the world. The neighborhood, a harmonious blend of diverse families, respected her faith and often found a quiet refuge in her garden's serenity. Yet change arrived with a new neighbor, Henry. Dressed sharply and armed with a vision of sleek modernization, Henry saw the statue as an anachronism, a disruption to his plans for the neighborhood's aesthetic upgrade. He believed its removal could enhance property values, setting the stage for an unexpected conflict that would challenge the very fabric of the community. Maplewood had always been a haven of tranquility, and Margaret's garden was its heart. The Virgin Mary statue stood gracefully among the flowers, a silent guardian watching over Margaret's daily ritual of prayer, constant, comforting presence to all who passed by. But the arrival of Henry, with his grand ambitions and polished demeanor, signaled the winds of change. To him, the statue was an outdated relic, an obstacle to progress. Politely yet firmly, he suggested its relocation, believing it would improve the neighborhood's appeal and property values. Margaret's heart sank at the thought. To her, the statue was not just a piece of decor. It was a living testament to her husband's enduring love and her own steadfast faith. Henry's proposal unsettled her deeply, setting the stage for a conflict that would test her resolve and the unity of her community. As tensions simmered beneath the surface, Margaret found herself reflecting on the statue's profound significance, a reminder of her husband's love and a spiritual anchor in her life. Little did she know, the true test of its value was yet to come, as the neighborhood's dynamics began to shift in unexpected ways. The stage was set for a transformation that would touch every soul in Maplewood, revealing the hidden strength of faith and the power of unity. As the afternoon sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow across Maplewood, Margaret stood by her kitchen window, her gaze fixed on the statue of the Blessed Virgin in her garden. The gentle glow of twilight seemed to wrap the statue in a heavenly embrace, a quiet testament to her husband's love and her own unwavering faith. Yet, beneath the serene exterior, a storm brewed within her heart, a storm stirred by Henry's unsettling proposal. The next morning, Margaret ventured out to the local cafe, a quaint little place that had been a cornerstone of the community for years. As she pushed open the door, the familiar scent of freshly brewed coffee greeted her, mingling with the warm chatter of the morning crowd. But today, the air held a different charge. Conversations that once flowed freely now seemed guarded, punctuated by furtive glances and whispered exchanges. Margaret ordered her usual simple cup of coffee and settled into a corner table. As she sipped her drink, she couldn't help but overhear snippets of conversation from the table behind her. "I heard Henry wants to standardize the neighborhood's look," one voice said, laced with curiosity. "They say it could boost property values." Another chimed in, a note of excitement in their tone. Margaret's heart tightened. She felt an invisible wall rising between herself and the community she had long cherished. It was as if the statue had become a symbol of division rather than unity, a catalyst for the subtle tensions now simmering beneath Maplewood's surface. Later that day, as she walked home, Margaret pondered the statue's true significance. It was more than a piece of art. It was a spiritual anchor, a reminder of the divine love that had sustained her through life's trials. She recalled the words of Saint Teresa of Avila. "Let nothing disturb you, let nothing frighten you. All things are passing away. God never changes." The statue embodied this unwavering faith, standing as a beacon of hope in an ever-changing world. Margaret's reflections were interrupted by the sound of footsteps approaching her on the sidewalk. She looked up to see her neighbor, and a kind-hearted woman with whom she had shared many a heart-to-heart over the years. But today, Anne's demeanor was different, hesitant, almost guarded. "Margaret," Anne began, her voice gentle but firm, "I've been hearing a lot of talk about the statue and Henry's proposal. Some people think it might be best for the neighborhood." Margaret managed a faint smile, though her heart felt heavy. "I understand, Anne, but to me it's not just a statue. It's a part of my life, a part of our community's soul." Anne nodded, her expression softening. "I know it means a lot to you. I just hope we can find a way to keep the peace." As Anne walked away, Margaret felt the weight of solitude pressing down upon her. The vibrant connections she once shared with her neighbors now seemed to fade, replaced by a sense of isolation she hadn't anticipated. That evening, the neighborhood meeting convened at the local community center. The room buzzed with anticipation as residents gathered to discuss the future of Maplewood. Margaret took her seat, her heart pounding with a mixture of apprehension and determination. Henry stood at the front, his demeanor calm and composed as he outlined his proposal for aesthetic standardization. "We need to think about the future," he urged, his voice carrying a persuasive undertone. "A uniform look could enhance our neighborhood's appeal and increase property values." Margaret listened intently, her emotions a tumultuous blend of anger and sadness. She knew Henry's proposal was indirectly targeting the statue, and the realization stoked a fire within her, a fire fueled by a deep-seated belief in the power of faith and community. When the floor opened for discussion, Margaret rose to her feet, her resolve unwavering. "I understand the desire for improvement," she began, her voice steady and clear. "But we must remember that our community is more than just buildings and property values. It's about the people, the connections we share, and the faith that binds us together." Her words hung in the air, a poignant reminder of the values that had long defined Maplewood. As Margaret spoke, she felt a renewed sense of purpose, a spiritual strength that transcended the tensions now dividing her beloved neighborhood. The meeting concluded, and as Margaret made her way home, she found herself reflecting on the words of Pope Francis. "Rivers do not drink their own water. Trees do not eat their own fruit. The flowers do not spread their fragrance for themselves. Living for others is a rule of nature." Margaret realized that the statue, in its own silent way, embodied this truth. It was a gift to the community, a symbol of love and faith that transcended earthly concerns. As she approached her garden, The statue stood illuminated by the soft glow of the street lamp, a quiet sentinel in the night. Margaret paused, her heart filled with a profound sense of peace. She knew the road ahead would not be easy, but she also knew she was not alone. Her faith, like the statue, stood firm against the tide of change, a beacon of hope and unity in a world too often divided. In that moment, Margaret felt the presence of her husband beside her, his spirit a comforting presence in her heart. She whispered a silent prayer, entrusting her worries to the divine care of the Blessed Virgin, and resolved to face the coming days with courage and grace. The seeds of conflict had been sown, but Margaret was determined to nurture the seeds of faith and unity, believing that through love and perseverance, a brighter future awaited Maplewood, a future where the spirit of community would triumph over division, and the power of faith would light the way forward. The night was still, the air laced with the cool whispers of autumn as the moon cast its gentle glow over Maplewood. Margaret, having finished her evening prayers, stood by the window, gazing out at the garden bathed in silvery light. The Virgin Mary statue stood serenely among the flowers, its presence a comforting reminder of divine grace amidst human turmoil. Margaret sighed, her thoughts lingering on the challenges that lay ahead, when a rustling sound from the garden caught her attention. Peering through the glass, she spotted a small figure huddled near the statue, a silhouette trembling in the night's embrace. With a mother's instinct, Margaret recognized Emily, Henry's daughter, her shoulders shaking gently as she sat on the damp earth. Concerned, Margaret wrapped a shawl around her shoulders and stepped outside, the chill air brushing against her skin. "Emily?" she called softly, her voice carrying the warmth of understanding and compassion. The young girl looked up, her eyes wide and glistening with unshed tears. "Mrs. O'Connor," she whispered, her voice cracking under the weight of held-back emotions. Margaret approached slowly, lowering herself to sit beside Emily on the cool grass. "What brings you here, dear?" she asked gently, though she could already sense the turmoil beneath Emily's fragile silence. Emily hesitated, biting her lip as if choosing her words with care. I didn't know where else to go," she finally admitted, her voice barely audible above the rustle of leaves. "Everything's changing so fast, and I feel like I'm losing everything." Margaret nodded, her heart aching for the young girl. "Change can be frightening, especially when it feels beyond our control," she said, her voice a soothing balm. "But you're not alone, Emily. You're never alone." Emily looked at the statue, its figure ethereal under the moonlight. "I saw her from my window," she confessed. "She looked so peaceful. I thought maybe if I sat here, I might feel some of that peace too." Margaret smiled softly, recognizing the stirrings of faith in Emily's heart. "The Blessed Mother is always with us, watching over us with love," she said. "In her presence, we can find solace and strength to face our troubles." For a moment, silence enveloped them, broken only by the gentle rustling of leaves. Margaret waited, her patience a silent invitation for Emily to share what weighed heavily on her soul. And slowly, the words began to pour forth, each one a step toward healing. "It's my parents," Emily confessed, her voice trembling. "They're getting a divorce, and everything's falling apart. We had to move, and I miss my old friends, my old life. Nothing feels right anymore." Margaret listened intently, her heart going out to the young girl caught in the crossfire of adult decisions. "It's difficult when the world around you shifts," she acknowledged. "But sometimes, change can also bring new beginnings. even when it doesn't seem that way at first. Emily wiped her eyes with the back of her hand, a flicker of hope in her gaze. "Do you really think so?" she asked, her voice tinged with a longing for reassurance. Margaret nodded, her expression tender. "I do, Emily. Life has a way of surprising us with unexpected blessings. And sometimes, those blessings come from the most unlikely places." Emily glanced at the statue once more, her heart opening to the possibility of grace amidst her turmoil. "Can I come here again?" she asked, her voice small yet filled with a newfound determination. "Of course, dear," Margaret replied, placing a comforting hand on Emily's shoulder. "This garden is always open to you, and so am I." As they sat together, the moon watching over them like a silent guardian, Margaret felt a shift in the air's subtle yet profound change. Emily's presence, her vulnerability and courage, had sown a new seed in the soil of this conflict-ridden community. It was a seed of hope, of healing, one that transcended the divisions that had taken root. Margaret's thoughts drifted to Henry, Emily's father, whose hardened heart had been a source of strife. Yet here was his daughter, seeking refuge in a place he had opposed. It was a reminder of the unexpected ways God worked, using the simplest of moments to weave threads of redemption into the fabric of life. As the night deepened, Margaret and Emily rose from the garden, their silhouettes merging into the shadows. Emily's steps were lighter, her heart unburdened by the weight of her struggles. Margaret watched her go, her spirit buoyed by the connection they had forged, a bond that transcended conflict and whispered of reconciliation. Inside her home, Margaret knelt once more, her prayer this time a song of gratitude. She thanked the Blessed Virgin for the gift of Emily's trust, for the chance to be a beacon of hope amidst the turmoil, and she prayed for the strength to continue nurturing the seeds of faith and unity, believing that through love and perseverance, a brighter future awaited them all. In the days that followed, Emily returned often, her presence in the garden a testament to the healing power of faith. She and Margaret spent hours together, tending to the flowers, sharing stories, and finding solace in the silent companionship of the Virgin Mary. With each visit, Emily's spirit grew stronger, her heart open to the possibilities of grace and love. As word of their friendship spread, perceptions began to shift. Neighbors who had once been skeptical of the statue's presence now saw it as a symbol of healing, a testament to the power of faith to bridge divisions and mend broken hearts. The garden, once a battleground for conflicting beliefs, became a haven of peace and unity, where the spirit of community thrived. And as the season turned, Margaret knew that the seeds of hope she had nurtured were beginning to bloom, their blossoms a promise of redemption and reconciliation. For in the heart of turmoil, amidst the shadows of doubt and fear, a beacon of hope shone brightly, lighting the way toward a future where faith and love would triumph over division. Henry stood at the window, watching as Emily skipped down the path toward Margaret's garden. Her steps were light, her face aglow with an inner peace that he hadn't seen in a long time. It was a change so profound that it stirred something deep within him, a curiosity mingled with a father's concern. He had noticed this transformation over the past weeks, a softening of the edges around his daughter, and it perplexed him. "Emily," he called as she returned, her cheeks flushed from the crisp autumn air. "Come sit with me for a moment." She looked at him, a hint of hesitation in her eyes, but nodded, taking a seat beside him on the old worn couch. The room was filled with the gentle ticking of the clock, a comforting rhythm that seemed to echo the cadence of their hearts. "Where have you been going every afternoon?" Henry asked, his voice gentle but probing. Emily hesitated, twirling a loose thread from her sweater around her finger. "I've been visiting Margaret's garden," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. Henry felt a twinge of something. Was it guilt? As he recalled the arguments he had had with Margaret about the statue. "Why there?" he asked, genuinely curious. Emily's eyes met his, and he saw a depth of understanding that belied her years. "It's peaceful there, Dad. When I'm in the garden, it's like I'm not alone. Like there's someone listening to me, even when I can't find the words." Her confession was simple, yet it struck Henry with the force of a revelation. He had been so caught up in his own convictions, his own fears of change and challenges, that he hadn't considered what Emily might need. The realization was a bitter pill to swallow. "Do you think the statue is special?" Henry asked, struggling to find the right words. Emily nodded. "It's not just about the statue, Dad. It's about what it represents. Margaret always says that faith is like a garden. It needs tending, and sometimes it grows in places you don't expect." Henry sat in silence, the weight of his daughter's words settling over him like a blanket of snow. He had been so concerned with appearances, with the divisions that the statue might create, that he had overlooked the healing it could bring. Later that evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and painted the sky in hues of pink and purple, Henry found himself drawn toward Margaret's garden. The path was familiar, yet it felt different now, as if each step was a journey toward something new. Margaret was there, tending to the flowers with a gentle hand. She looked up as Henry approached, her expression a mix of surprise and welcome. "Henry," she greeted, wiping her hands on her apron. "What brings you here?" He paused, the words tangled in his throat. "I wanted to talk," he finally managed, his voice tinged with a vulnerability that he hadn't intended to show. Margaret nodded, gesturing for him to sit on the stone bench beside the Virgin Mary's statue. The garden was quiet, the air filled with the scent of damp earth and the rustling whispers of leaves. "I've been thinking about what this place means to Emily," Henry began, his eyes fixed on the statue. "And I realized that I've been wrong." Margaret listened, her eyes kind and understanding. "It's hard to let go of our fears, especially when they seem so justified," she said softly. Henry nodded, the knot in his chest loosening with her words. "I thought I was protecting her, but maybe I was just protecting myself." Margaret smiled, a gentle, knowing smile. "Faith has a way of finding us, even when we're not looking for it. Emily found solace here, and I think you can too." Henry looked at her, truly seeing her for the first time. Her unwavering faith, her compassion, it was more than just an acceptance of the statue. It was a testament to a deeper understanding of what it meant to believe, to hope, to love. "I'm sorry," he said, the words spilling out in a rush. "For everything. For judging you. For not seeing the truth." Margaret reached over, placing a hand on his arm. "We all have our moments of doubt, Henry. What's important is what we do after we realize them." Her forgiveness was a balm to his soul. In that moment, Henry understood that the garden, the statue, Margaret's faith, it was all part of a larger tapestry, one that wove them together in a shared journey toward healing and redemption. As they sat in the fading light, surrounded by the quiet beauty of the garden, Henry felt a sense of peace settle over him. It was fragile, tentative, yet it was real. And he knew that this was just the beginning, a beginning filled with the promise of reconciliation, of hope renewed. The evening deepened, stars beginning to prick the indigo sky, and Henry rose to leave, a newfound resolve in his heart. "Thank you, Margaret," he said, his voice steady with gratitude. Margaret nodded, her eyes shining with the light of faith. "Go in peace, Henry, and remember, faith is like a garden. It needs tending, but it will grow." As Henry walked back home, the words whispered through his mind, weaving a pattern of grace and understanding. It was a journey he was ready to take, one step at a time, toward a future where faith and love would indeed triumph over division. As Henry walked home under the canopy of stars, he felt the gentle hum of the universe resonating within him. The garden, with its quiet beauty, had been the catalyst for his transformation, a sacred space where the first seeds of reconciliation had been sown. He realized that the garden was not just a piece of land but a symbol of hope and renewal, a place where faith and community could take root and flourish. The days that followed were filled with a sense of purpose and possibility. Inspired by Margaret's unwavering faith, Henry found himself drawn back to the garden. It became his sanctuary, a place where he could reflect and rediscover the simplicity and depth of life's true joys. Margaret, ever the gentle steward, welcomed him with open arms, always ready to share her wisdom and grace. Word of Henry's change of heart spread through the neighborhood like the sweet scent of blooming flowers. Slowly, others began to venture into the garden, curious and hopeful. At first, it was just a mother with her young children, an elderly man seeking solace, a young couple looking for a moment of peace. But soon, the garden became a vibrant tapestry of life and laughter, a place where stories were exchanged and friendships were forged. One sunny afternoon, as the garden buzzed with the gentle hum of conversation, Henry noticed a group of children gathered around the statue of the Virgin Mary. Their eyes were wide with wonder as Margaret told them stories of faith and miracles, her voice a soft melody weaving through the air. Henry watched, humbled by the innocence and openness of their young hearts, and realized that this was the heart of the community, the shared stories, the shared faith, the shared dreams. As the weeks passed, the garden blossomed into a communal sanctuary. Longtime neighbors who had once kept to themselves now joined in, bringing with them laughter and a sense of camaraderie that had been absent for too long. The garden became a living tapestry of shared experiences and newfound friendships. It was as if the barriers that had once divided them were crumbling, replaced by bridges of understanding and compassion. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the garden, Henry found himself sitting with a group of neighbors. They spoke of their lives, their struggles, and their dreams, each story adding a new thread to the intricate fabric of their community. As he listened, Henry felt a profound sense of belonging, a connection to something greater than himself. It was a feeling he had longed for but never knew how to find. "Henry, you've done something remarkable here," said a woman named Clara, her eyes shining with gratitude. "This garden has brought us together in a way I never thought possible." Henry shook his head, a humble smile on his lips. "I didn't do this alone. It was Margaret's faith and the grace of God that opened my heart. We all played a part in this transformation." Margaret, sitting nearby, nodded, her gaze filled with warmth and understanding. "Faith is indeed like a garden," she said, echoing her earlier words. "With care and love, it will grow and flourish." As the evening deepened, Henry realized that the transformation of the neighborhood was not in its physical appearance, but in the spirit of unity and compassion that had emerged. The garden had become a symbol of hope, a testament to the power of community and the strength of faith. In the weeks that followed, the garden continued to thrive. It became a place of celebration and reflection, a beacon of light in the heart of the community. Neighbors gathered for picnics and prayer circles, for quiet moments of solitude and joyful expressions of life. It was a place where faith and love triumphed over division, where bridges were built and hearts were healed. Henry, humbled by the experience, learned the true value of community, the power of seeing beyond the surface, of embracing the sacred in the everyday. He understood that the garden was not just a physical space but a reflection of the divine. Reminder that God's grace was woven into the very fabric of their lives. One morning, as he tended to the garden, Henry felt a gentle hand on his shoulder. He turned to see Margaret, her eyes filled with the light of faith. "You've come a long way, Henry," she said softly, her voice a balm to his soul. "Thank you, Margaret," he replied, his heart full of gratitude, "for everything. I couldn't have done this without you." Margaret smiled, her gaze tender and knowing. "Faith and community are gifts, Henry. We are all part of something greater, and together, we can create something truly beautiful." As Henry looked around the garden, at the vibrant tapestry of life and love that had blossomed, he knew that this was just the beginning. The journey of faith and reconciliation was ongoing, a sacred dance of grace and understanding. The garden stood as a testament to the power of unity, a reminder that even in the face of division, faith and love could triumph. And as the neighborhood continued to heal, Henry felt a deep sense of peace settle over him, a peace that came from knowing he was part of something bigger, something sacred, something eternal. With each passing day, the garden became a beacon of hope, a place where the seeds of faith and love were sown and nurtured. And as Henry walked among the flowers and the trees, he knew that the journey toward a future filled with unity and compassion was one he was ready to take, hand in hand with his community, guided by the light of faith and the promise of grace. As the neighborhood of Maplewood grew and flourished, the Virgin Mary statue stood gracefully in the center of the garden, a silent witness to the community's journey from discord to harmony. The statue, which once seemed to cast long shadows of division, now shimmered in the sunlight, a testament to the unexpected and transformative power of grace. Margaret often found herself drawn to this statue, a gentle smile playing on her lips as she remembered the tumultuous days when its presence was a source of contention. Her heart was filled with gratitude for the journey she and Henry had undertaken, one that was as much about personal transformation as it was about community healing. It was a journey marked by faith, forgiveness, and a shared commitment to nurturing the seeds of unity. Margaret's steps were light as she walked around the garden, her eyes tracing the delicate outlines of the flowers that surrounded the statue. The garden, once a barren piece of land, had blossomed into a vibrant tapestry of colors, each petal a testament to the community's collaborative spirit. As she knelt by the statue, Margaret whispered a silent prayer of thanks, her fingers gently brushing against the cool stone. She felt a deep sense of peace in this sacred space, a peace that transcended understanding. Henry approached, his footfalls soft on the garden path. He paused for a moment, taking in the sight of Margaret by the statue. Their journey from adversaries to allies was something he cherished deeply. The grace that had unfolded in their lives was nothing short of miraculous, a testament to the power of faith to transform even the hardest of hearts. He joined Margaret by the statue, standing shoulder to shoulder with her, their shared silence a form of communion. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" Margaret finally spoke, her voice a gentle murmur. Henry nodded, his gaze fixed on the statue. "It is. I never imagined that something which once caused so much division could become a symbol of unity." Margaret turned to him, her eyes reflecting the warmth of the setting sun. Faith has a way of surprising us, doesn't it? It turns the unexpected into something sacred. Henry smiled, a sense of contentment settling over him. Yes, it does. I've learned so much from this garden, from this community, and from you, Margaret. It's taught me that faith isn't just about what we believe, but also about how we live and love. Their conversation was punctuated by the gentle rustling of leaves in the evening breeze. The garden seemed to breathe with them, a living testament to the transformation that had taken place. The Virgin Mary statue, once just a piece of stone, now embodied the spirit of unity and hope that had blossomed in Maplewood. As the sun began its descent, casting golden hues across the sky, Margaret and Henry found themselves surrounded by neighbors who had come to the garden to share in its peace. Families gathered, children's laughter mingling with the soft murmur of adult conversations. It was a tapestry of life, woven together by the threads of compassion and understanding that had been nurtured over time. A young boy approached the statue, his eyes wide with wonder. He reached out to touch the stone, and Margaret knelt beside him, her heart swelling with joy. "Do you like the statue?" she asked gently. The boy nodded, his small hand resting on the statue's base. "It's pretty. My mom says it's special." Margaret smiled, her heart warmed by the innocence of his words. "It is special. It reminds us that when we come together, we can create something beautiful." The boy grinned and ran off to join his friends, leaving Margaret with a renewed sense of hope. The statue was more than just a symbol. It was a beacon of the invisible bonds that connected each person in this community. As the evening deepened, the garden was bathed in the soft glow of lanterns. Henry watched as Margaret moved among their neighbors, her presence a source of comfort and strength. He realized that her unwavering belief had been a catalyst for change, not just for him, but for everyone in Maplewood. Her faith had been a guiding light, illuminating the path toward reconciliation and love. Henry found himself reflecting on his own journey, the steps he had taken to open his heart to the possibilities of grace. It was a journey marked by humility and a willingness to embrace the unknown. He had discovered that true miracles often lay in the unseen bonds of human connection, in the simple act of reaching out to another with compassion. As the stars began to twinkle overhead, Henry and Margaret found themselves standing together once more, their hearts full of gratitude. The garden had become a place of prayer and peace, a sanctuary where the seeds of faith and love continued to grow. They knew that the journey was far from over, but they faced the future with confidence, hand in hand, guided by the light of faith and the promise of grace. The Virgin Mary statue, serene and steadfast, watched over them all, a silent testament to the power of transformation and the enduring strength of faith. As the night enveloped Maplewood, the garden remained a beacon of hope, a reminder that even in the face of division, love could triumph. Ready to embrace whatever lay ahead, their hearts anchored in the sacred dance of grace and understanding. With each step, they knew they were part of something bigger, something eternal, a testament to faith and transformation. Before you go, share with us in the comments. Where are you watching from, and what time is it right now where you are? It's amazing to see how a simple story of faith, unity, and quiet courage can reach hearts across the world at every hour. If Margaret's story touched you, subscribe for more stories of humble miracles, community, and the Virgin Mary's gentle presence.